to be with you.
I've told you my wife's name, right? Did I tell you her name's Penelope? Have I told you that?
That's right. Great name. Penelope ran the kingdom while Odysseus was out trying to find his way home.
You don't call Joe, though. It's Joe. It's Joseph August. Do you call him Joe? Your twins, Joe.
He goes by Gus, but when he's old enough to decide, maybe he'll favor a different nickname. We'll see.
Is there a birthday soon?
It's coming up. Yeah, we were within days of the twins' first birthday, which is hard to believe.
The
first few months were a blur anyway.
Well, you ruined it by not being Joe and
Penelope.
Yeah, Penelope Rose is what a beautiful name. I don't know. You can still call him Joe occasionally, I think.
All right, in your honor, I'll do it this weekend.
Okay, don't curse him with my honor. You know what I want to ask you first? Every time I see a poll for who, if President Biden doesn't run for re-election, you're like at the top of the. Sometimes you poll better, I dare say, than the vice president. What do you make of that? And how do you feel about that? And what should we think about that? And don't just dodge it. Just tell me whether that's something that might happen.
I got a day job. I've got way too much on my hands right now.
That's the same answer that everybody. Are you flattered?
It's the right answer, Joe. Look, you look at the responsibilities that this department has. You look at the job that the President of the United States has asked me to do, and the last thing that we have energy for, we got 40.
I want to ask you first. Every time I see a poll for who, if President Biden doesn't run for re-election, you're like at the top of the. Sometimes you poll better, I dare say, than the vice president. What do you make of that? And how do you feel about that? And what should we think about that? And don't just dodge it. Just tell me whether that's something that might happen.
I got a day job. I've got way too much on my hands right now.
That's the same answer that everybody. Are you flattered?
It's the right answer, Joe. Look, you look at the responsibilities that this department has. You look at the job that the President of the United States has asked me to do, and the last thing that we have energy for. We got 46 new programs from this law alone hitting this department alone. There's no time to get caught up in Washington parlor games. We haven't even gotten to the midterms. I'm looking forward to supporting the president's reelection. That is as much as I can say about these things while I'm here on an official in an official capacity.
Not everyone says that.
What I can also say is that we've got an administration that already has a lot to be proud of. We're pushing hard to make sure we will continue to have a lot to be proud of.
Let me start with this: the average price of gas, and you tell me whether this is good. It has dropped, but the 4-week average of gasoline consumption, the best gauge of demand in the country, is now 1 million barrels lower than it was in the summer of 2020 for the same period. So that the $4, even though it's come down, it's now become, it's at the point where people are driving less than even during the pandemic when there wasn't a lot of people going out. So the inflation is still biting people, Mr. Secretary.
No question the inflation is still biting people, and that's why it remains the president's top economic priority. I will say there's a lot of layers to that figure of consumption going down, right? Part of it is also that people are going to be more comfortable using transit or trains or other ways of getting around now than they would have been a year ago when not as many people were vaccinated and protected. You've got a lot of different dynamics going on. But look, there's no question that we want to continue to see gas prices go down and become more affordable for Americans. And we want to continue to see prices in general get under control. I think the steps that have been taken have had a real impact on that. We're going to keep pushing.
We've talked about the Fed a lot, and it's an unwieldy tool to try to conquer inflation, and that is by trying to lessen demand in a lot of different areas. Just isn't the greatest way to do things. It'd be better to increase supply, a lot of people say. So let's get back to what I don't know if badger is the right word, but I always ask you about whether we're doing everything we can on the supply side for production. And we know that people want to move to renewables. You've made that point. Some would say that Germany and Europe, that they rushed it. Are you saying right now that you're envious of the energy mix that Germany has right now in terms of hydrocarbons versus renewables? Or do you admit we need 10 years of maximum production of hydrocarbons as a bridge to the future?
Look, Germany's going to do what's right for Germany. We're going to do what's right for the U.S. I think you make a really good point about the supply side of things. Look, what we need to do as a country, what we're seeing in terms of keeping up with the red-hot demand that has been the case in this economy under this president, and what we need to do, candidly, in order to actually deliver on this infrastructure bill. It is going to test the productive capacity of this country and of this economy. I think in a good way, but we've got to gear up for it. And that means on everything from raw materials to workforce, and we're investing a ton in workforce, including on the programs that my department's working on, and of course on energy. We've got to make sure we're ready. Now we've also got to make sure we drive that transition to domestic clean energy. I don't think anyone's under any illusions that can be done easily or that it can be done overnight. But one of many things that is exciting about the Inflation Reduction Act, which is also the most significant, stands to be the most significant climate action we've ever had in federal law, is that it helps pave the way for that zero carbon energy production, including, by the way, realistic choices around nuclear, which is maybe not zero worry, but it is zero carbon and is part of the story, which is why it's part of what is supported with the tax and credit structure that's built into the Inflation Reduction Act. So, yes, we've got to pay attention to the supply side. We respect the independence of the Fed, a big difference between this administration and the last, but also recognize that the Fed's got their job, but fiscal policy and investment policy on the part of the administration has to be there to support a strong, resilient, long-term, robust economy. And, when I say supply side, I might mean it in a way that's a little different than the way the term was thrown around in the Reagan years. But there is no question that we've got to be looking at the productive capacity of our country.
Secretary, I wanted to ask you about the subsidies that now come back into play for EVs. In certain cases, it will help the likes of Tesla, which would have been out of that business or at least not had those subsidies. But also hybrid vehicles, it looks to me, if I understand it properly, will also have those subsidies applied to them. And there's some thought that may actually crowd out or may not incentivize the move towards full EVs as quickly, and what you think of that critique.
Well, I think, I think some of the details are under discussion right now. But what's important is that we get to zero emissions as quickly as we can. And that too is not automatically a switch. I think there are a lot of consumers, including me, by the way, who have turned to a plug-in hybrid vehicle that is, for all intents and purposes, an electric zero-emission vehicle most of the time, like when you're driving it around the city, but uses gas when you go out over the road. A lot of the more affordable options in recent years, and some of the vehicles that are just available more readily, have been of that type. Still, the long-term goal has to be to get to true full zero emission. And we need a tax structure that can do that while also recognizing that, again, to come back to Joe's point on the supply side, we also need to make sure that our OEMs have the chance to gear up and produce for that. These vehicles are increasingly popular. We recently crossed that 5% sales threshold. That doesn't sound like a lot, but if you look at the experience of other countries, has been found to be something of a tipping point that leads to you really racing up the curve after that. And that is going to take a lot of work to gear up. So I know there are a lot of different ways to get there. And by the way, we're trying not to dictate every single step of this transition, knowing that ultimately it's up to industry, whether you're, and very, very different companies from the Teslas of the world to the big three in Detroit, all doing this in different ways, but all helping lead the way toward a made in America EV revolution.
Well, it's always up against a hard break whenever we have you, but it was good to have you on, Mr. Secretary. So Penelope and Gus, same birthday. Weird, isn't it? What is it? September? September what?
August 11th. We're coming right
August
up.
11th. Oh, I thought it was September. August 11th. Yeah, what a coincidence. Yeah. That's really cool. It makes it convenient to. Oh, they're twins. I get it. Yeah. I got it. When I'm kidding around, I need to say it because I will end up on like a Ron Burgundy website. I swear to God, they'll put me on there like I don't understand things. Good to have you on. Happy birthday. What sign are they? What's August 11th? What is that?
I don't know this. I'll be in trouble when I get home.
Well, oh my God, you are going to be. Very good.
Leo.
Take care.
Leo.
There we go.
Leo.
Lion-hearted. All right.
Leos. We want to thank the Transportation Secretary again.